Congratulations on the purchase of your new vinyl cutter. I'm Josh Ellsworth, General Manager with Stahl's CAD Cut Direct. At Stahl's CAD Cut Direct, we believe firmly in educating decorators on how to use equipment so you can profit and make more money in your business. So you've purchased this vinyl cutter, or maybe you bought it a while ago and you're just finally dusting it off, learning how to use it. I've talked to many decorators over the last 10 years that haven't really been using their vinyl cutter. The reason is they just don't know how. Sometimes the manuals aren't completely accurate, or they're tough to follow. Enter video training. That's what you're watching right here. Nick Horvath is a vinyl cutter expert with our company, Stahl's CAD Cut Direct. He knows over 10 models of vinyl cutters that we've put together on the first installment of our training program. There'll be many more to come. We have a commitment to educating you on how to use your vinyl cutter. In turn, we hope you entrust us with your business for heat-applied films. We manufacture and sell the films direct. So we'll give you some more tips later on how to connect with us on Facebook and other ways where you can keep updated on your cutter with tips, tricks, and new videos. But for now, enjoy this educational session. Let's go over some highlights of what you'll learn today. Today you'll learn how to connect your cutter to your computer, also plugging in the power cable, teach you how to load the blade and also set that blade, loading material into your vinyl cutter, adjusting and setting the pinch rollers, creating and sending artwork to your cutter, cutting a design, weeding a design. Then we'll also learn about replaceable parts. And now on to Nick.
Hello, this is Nick Horvath, vinyl cutter expert for Stahl's CAD Cut Direct, and this is the training for the Roland GX-24. Okay, let's go ahead and plug it in. This should plug into any standard 110 outlet. Let's plug one end of your plug into the cutter and the other end into the wall. And then while we're at it, we'll go ahead and plug your cutter into the computer. Your GX24 has serial cable port as well as USB cable port. For this training, we're going to go ahead and use the USB cable. So let's plug the USB cable into your cutter and the other end into your computer. Here's a 45-degree blade, standard for cutting most vinyls, as well as a blade holder. We're going to go ahead and put your blade into the blade holder. And you want to make sure that the blade is extending from the blade holder at least half the thickness of a credit card up to full thickness of a credit card. And you would achieve that by rotating the blade holder clockwise to increase the exposure of your blade, or counterclockwise to decrease the exposure of your blade. Let's go ahead and put your blade holder into the carriage. You would place it right into the hole, sliding it down all the way. And then you would turn the knob, screwing it in all the way until it secures your blade holder into the carriage. Let's go ahead and load your media into the back of the GX24. Just first want to point out on the back of the stand of the Roland GX24, you have two rollers in which to place your media. So let's go ahead and load this onto the back. And we want to make sure we pull the lever down to raise your pinch rollers. And then go ahead and feed the media into the GX24 between the pinch rollers and the cutting strip. You want to make sure that your pinch rollers are below one of the white areas, which would coincide with the grit portion of the roller. And I would make sure that each roller is as close to the edge of your material as possible. If you have to adjust your material to achieve that, then go ahead and do so. And once you've done that, go ahead and lock the bar in place by pushing it up. Let's go ahead and power the GX24 on. Now we have our GX24 powered on. It's asking us what type of media we've loaded. You use your up or down arrows to select either roll, edge, or piece. For this training, we're going to go ahead and select roll. You press enter, and the machine's going to read from side to side the edge of the material. And the next button I want to point out to you is the menu button. Pressing the menu button once will bring up all your information such as speed, force, and offset. Pressing it again will bring up the actual menu. You have the option anytime to reset the cutter. Unsetup is for unit setup. Pressing enter will go ahead and measure your media all over again. Pressing the up arrow, you've got memory. Replot, which is basically replotting the last sent data. And then you have others. Others is a completely different menu. you would go ahead and hit your right arrow to enter the menu. You've got smoothing. You can either turn that on or off. Self-test. Return all your settings to factory default. Set the units, whether you're in inches or millimeters. Smoothing on. And we're back to self-test again. So let's go ahead and back out by hitting the left arrow. And now we're going to go ahead into the menu further by hitting the up arrow. You've got I/O, crop marks, condition, and getting into condition you would hit the right arrow and that brings up force. Now there's two ways to set your force. You can either set it in the condition or you can just simply press the force button. But since we're here, once you're into force, to actually set the force, you would hit your right arrow, and then moving the arrow up would increase force, down would decrease force, hitting enter to set it. Moving up, we've got your area. You can adjust the area by pressing right, and then up arrow would increase, down arrow would decrease, and enter would go ahead and set that. And what that's going to do is extend your material out for 3 feet to make sure you have enough material to cut on. Just like I selected 3 feet, or if you selected 1 foot or 2 feet, it's going to extend the material to make sure you have enough. And this is rotate. Again, you'd set the right arrow up or down to increase or decrease. And then we've got up speed, offset, which is dictated by the type of blade you have and the media that you're using, depending on the media thickness or type of media. Again, right arrow to change, up to increase offset, down to decrease offset. Speed, right arrow to change, up arrow to increase, down arrow to decrease, and then we're back to force. So let's back up out of this menu here, and we're back to unit setup. So that's it for the menu button. And then let's say you want to go ahead and set your force. You would just press force and you're right into force. This way you don't have to navigate through the menu to set your force. And this here is a nifty little feature. It's called your pen force. While the cutter is operating, you can either slide this lever here to the left or to the right to increase or decrease within 2 grams of force. And that's great for changing on the fly. Like let's say you're cutting a job and you notice that you don't have quite enough force. You can up it by 1 or 2 grams of force just to go ahead and see if that'll help you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and set our origin before we perform our test cut. So we're going to utilize the arrows. You have a left, right, up, down arrow. You would use that to maneuver your cutter head left or right. Or your media forward or backward. We're going to go ahead and pull it back a little. Press origin to set our origin. And then press the test button to perform our test cut. And let's go ahead and weed that out to see how we did. This is going to cut a circle with a square inside of it. And what you'll want to be able to do is weed away the circle from the square, which we did. Then pull your square away and check your carrier to make sure you didn't cut through your carrier. And that looks like a real good test cut. Your GX-24 also comes with a cutting blade, which is great for cutting media from the machine, and it has a groove that you want to line your material up with to cut. You just simply slide the blade in there and then go ahead and cut across to trim your material. This is the Roland GX-24 Cut Studio software. This ships with your GX-24. This is a basic graphics program. Has some standard shapes you can go ahead and populate to cut, and you can also do text, and you can manipulate designs on this software. But the main feature, in my opinion, of this software is the ability to not only import from other graphic softwares, but it actually has a CorelDRAW plugin that you can install in your CorelDRAW. Once installed, you would design in CorelDRAW, click a button, and it automatically will pull up this Cut Studio with your graphic in the Cut Studio ready to cut. But for this training here, we're going to go ahead and import a design that I created in CorelDRAW. To do that, we'll click on File, Import, and this is an EPS, so I've already set it to look for an EPS file. Click on that. We've got our CAD Cut Direct design here. Now the next step we need to do is make sure we have the cutter selected. To do that, you click on File, click on Cutting Setup, and we see we don't have that cutter selected. Let's go ahead and select our GX-24 here. Click OK. Now it's asking us if we'd like to alter the position of our artwork according to the scheme of the cutter. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. Now it puts it in the lower left-hand corner where it should be. We're almost ready to cut. First we want to do is select File. We want to make sure we populate the width of the media into the software. So we click on File, Cutting Setup again, click on Properties. Now in here you would select Get from Machine. Notice it changed. Then you would select OK, OK again, and normally you would see this screen change, but since we have enough room, it's not going to change on you. Normally you would see if you have a smaller media, you would notice that the screen would shrink as well. We're almost ready to cut. All you would do is click on File now, click on Cutting, and then click OK again. Let's go ahead and weed the design that we just cut. And weed away the cavities. Get that little piece there. And there you go. I just want to point out a few replaceable parts on your GX-24. First and most important is the cutting strip. This cutting strip, through just normal wear and tear, will become worn. You can notice that by looking at the cutting strip. You can see etching in it or scoring of the cutting strip, and that will result in reduced accuracy in your cuts, even though you may have a new blade or newer blade installed. And the cutting strip comes right out. We just pull that cutting strip out, and the new one would install. It has an adhesive on the back of it, and you would just slide that right into the groove of the old cutting strip. And the next two items I want to show you for replaceability is your blade. Now these blades are totally replaceable. A blade should last anywhere from 1 to 3 months depending on how often you use it and what you're cutting through. As well as the blade holder is also replaceable. Now you shouldn't go through blade holders quickly, but in case you do need an extra one or you do go through a blade holder, they are available. And that completes our training for the Roland GX-24, and I'll take you over to Josh.
Thanks, Nick. Hopefully you as a decorator have an understanding now of what you can do with your vinyl cutter out of the box. Basic setup, how to use it, how to create designs in the software that's included, and ultimately create your first cut. Hopefully you're that far with us. Now the next thing I want to show you is what we can offer, Stahl's CAD Cut Direct. At stahls-cadcutdirect.com, we manufacture heat-applied films and sell them direct. Believe it or not, a little over 20 years ago we actually invented CAD Cut. Did you know that with your vinyl cutter, a quality heat press, and CAD Cut you can decorate athletic team uniforms, customize t-shirts, decorate hooded sweatshirts, bags, performance wear, or even shoes? Our films come in a multitude of colors and even effects. Popular finishes such as foil, electric, flock, and glitter highlight an all-star lineup, all available to you. As a vinyl cutter owner, you can order directly from the manufacturer. All you have to do is go online to cadcutdirect.com or call. It's that easy. Now let's show you the basics of decorating a shirt with your vinyl cutter. Load your cadcutdirect.com heat-applied film into the cutter. Send the job. After cut, weed away the excess material. Trim apart your designs. Position it, and heat press it. Did I mention we manufacture heat presses as well? Look up Hotronix.com for the world's #1 heat press. That's it, a completed garment that is lab certified for durability. Pretty simple to create a shirt with your new vinyl cutter, isn't it? Now let's go back through and reinforce some of the points that we've learned today. You learned how to connect your cutter via USB to your computer, also how to connect the power cable. You learned how to set your blade into the blade holder, loading material, adjusting and locking your pinch rollers, some basic design, how to send to the cutter, how the cutter cuts out your design, and then how to weed it. And then we also taught you about replaceable parts. Okay, so we're almost done. Are you on information overload yet? Let's wrap this whole thing up. 2 more things. Number 1, if you own a heat press, obviously you have a vinyl cutter, and want to purchase CAD Cut materials or start with us, visit cadcutdirect.com. You can purchase any one of our materials from that website. Number 2, become a fan of ours on Facebook. Simply go to facebook.com/cadcutdirect and click on Become a Fan. This is going to allow you to stay engaged with us. You'll receive all the updates that we put out on your vinyl cutter, videos, new how-tos, workflows, even tips or testimonials from other users. You can even hop on and ask a question. Those are the 2 big things that you can do right now. Buy material or become a fan, or both of them. Once again, thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video, and best of luck with your new vinyl cutter from Stahl's CAD Cut Direct.